Hello and welcome back to the Knitting Page podcast. If you're new here, my name is Paige and I am the face behind the Knitting Page. Okay, so today I have a regular podcast format for you guys. Today I will be talking about some finished objects. I actually only have one active whip that I've been working on, but I'm going to show you some plans that I plan to cast on potentially like right after this video, and if not in the next upcoming days. Today is Thursday, June 13th. So by the time this video comes out, a few of these projects, or the one whip, will hopefully be finished. And if you want to follow along with that, you can follow me on Instagram at the Knitting Page as well. I tend to post a little more frequently there than on YouTube. Okay, so I'm just gonna get started. The first finished object that I have is a shawl, and this is my first ever shawl that I've knit. This is the Birichen shawl, I want to say is how you pronounce the word, and it's by Journey Through Yarn. This pattern, let me hold it up closer. Hopefully that was in focus, but as you can see, it has these wonderful asymmetric cables that intertwine and kind of cascade throughout the entirety of the shawl. These cables were designed to kind of replicate the hills, the rolling hills in Scotland. And the color is not showing up very well here in my dark room with my artificial light, but we're gonna work with what we got, because if I want to post consistently, this is the space that I have to film for right now. But this shawl is absolutely beautiful. It is knit in Sandnes Garn alpaca in the colorway Petroleum. This yarn was gifted to me by Emily from High Fiber Knits. She's sensitive to alpaca, and anyway, she had 4 balls of this left over, and when we met up in Toronto last summer, she was like, hey, do you want it? And I don't have a sensitivity to alpaca. I do really love it's showing up like a dark gray, at least for me on my camera, but it is more of like this greeny blue gray, kind of like a deep turquoise or a deep teal color. It's very beautiful, and the color itself kind of reminds me of like a rolling hill nature scene, kind of at like nighttime. I don't know, but I wanted to test knit this shawl because I don't have a shawl yet, and I've been really intrigued at knitting a shawl. Let me just try it on for you. I like, at least in the summer, kind of wearing it over the shoulders like this. I think it looks like very, to me, like royal, and like beautiful, and it just gives like a nice little delicate look. I think it complements nicely with my 2 necklaces that I have on. I wore it the other night out for dinner. I had like a little top on, and it was just a nice added layer to give some warmth and have that flexibility of being able to take it on or off. In the winter time, I will probably style it more so in like the traditional scarf sense, and wear it like this and like cozy up while I go for my walks. I will likely be walking to and from work next year, which is really exciting, but it's gonna be cold in Halifax, and so I'm gonna need to bundle up, and so this shawl will be perfect. I was knitting in the car coming back from coaching at provincials, and I also had this like on my lap as a blanket. I like that it's larger than like one of like the little tiny shawls, that you can kind of wear it as like a little wrap almost, as I'm having it on. I'm like, I could tie it behind my back and have it be this little like capelet thing. I kind of like that. The mobility's not great in it if you lift your shoulders, but it feels pretty. I don't know. I'm rambling. But yeah, I used almost the entirety of 4 balls. A couple of the balls that I was gifted didn't have the yarn tag on them, and so I wasn't sure if it was a full ball or not. This pattern is designed to use 2 or 4 balls of DK weight yarn, depending on if you're using 50 grams or 100 grams. And so I had 4 50-gram balls, so I knit 2 of them, and then I started my decreases for the other side. So it's kind of customizable how big you want to make this shawl. My plan was to use all of the yarn, but I do have a little bit left over that I will throw into my excavation blanket. But this has definitely, finishing this really makes me want to knit another shawl. If you watched my June 321 video, you'll see that I had a shawl pattern in there as one of my patterns, because I do want to knit one that's just slightly, maybe not just slightly, that's quite a bit, like at least deeper than this shawl, so that it can be more so of a blanket rather than a scarf. I think I will get a lot of wear out of this, both like as a little scarf in the winter time, but also I really do love it with like a little tank top and wearing it like this and just keeping your shoulders and giving a bit more warmth. I think it's really beautiful. So this is my first finished object, and the cable pattern was like super easy to memorize. I was looking at the chart. It's written both in terms of words, like written out instructions, as well as like a visual chart schematic. I find that for like color work and for textured knits, I do best by referring to a chart and not reading through the patterns, and so I use the chart as reference. But I found the cables quite captivating. I knit on this a lot while watching the NHL playoffs. They're still going on, but my team got eliminated. So anyways, this is the first finished object. And I'm really happy with it. I have 2 finished objects and I have 1 whip. They're all test knits, and I do plan on not doing any test knits this summer, and I'll talk more about that in my summer plans video that I will hopefully sit down and record sometime soon, probably in this space. But yeah, another test knit, really beautiful. The test knit experience was wonderful as well. So yeah, that is the Birichen shawl, I believe is how you pronounce it, but very lovely. Okay, the second finished object that I have is also a test knit, and this is my first ever color work sweater in terms of doing like stranded color work. I knit the structure loop sweater last spring, and it has some color work, but it's really only stripes. This was a more intense color work. It's also was my first bottom up construction for doing a circular yoke sweater. It's also my first circular yoke, haha, no, I don't know, circular yoke sweater. And okay, to be honest, I applied for this test knit. This is the Hof Sweater, and it's by knitter from Iceland. She has a lot of really beautiful color work patterns, and I applied to it with the sole purpose of using up stash yarn. And so this is quite a comical in terms of the sense of what yarns I wound up using. And I would show you the yarns, but in terms of the dark gray, I literally ran out of yarn. I will insert a picture here of how much yarn I had left, but I used, for the sweater, for the like charcoal gray color, I had thrifted this cone of 100% wool of an unknown amount, of an unknown weight. I figured it was fingering, from Value Village for like $5. And I wound up caking it up and weighing, and I had something like 250 grams. And so I knew that that wouldn't make me a sweater by itself unless I held it with something. And so I wound up ordering some Drops Flora in a charcoal gray color to hold with it, because I thought I was going to knit the Louvre sweater just for like a nice gray classic sweater. Didn't really get around to that. I used up all of that yarn in this sweater, but when I applied for the test knit, I knew that I had a few odd quantities of yarn. This is a bulky weight project, so the recommended needle size is 6 millimeters. I wound up going up to 6.5 to meet gauge, because knitter from Iceland does say that she's a fairly tight knitter, and I feel like I'm not a super tight knitter. I'm not a loose knitter, but I'm also not a tight knitter. Like, I feel like I hit petite knit patterns. Whatchamacallit, my favorite thing's knitwear. I meet gauge, but this pattern I did size up, especially for the color work. It was my first color work. I didn't want to make it too tight. I didn't want to have it like not be able to fit. I've done color work socks before, and like They were supposed to be for someone else and they did not fit their feet. So they ended up being mine because I had smaller feet. But anyways, I digress. I wound up using 2 strands of this vintage yarn that I had. And then I wound up also holding that with 2 strands of Drops Flora. So altogether, I was holding 4 strands of yarn for this main color to reach a bulky weight yarn. I then went through and I looked through all of the contrast colors that I had. I was playing around and I was trying to figure out what yarns I was going to use. I have a few like single skeins that, you know, I could use for mittens or whatever, that were kind of bought or thrifted just for like, why not? It was inexpensive, or I liked the color and I thought I was going to use it for this one project and I didn't end up using it there. Anyways, I'm kind of rambling, but I wound up using, let me hold it closer. So for the purple color, I wound up using a Briggs and Little yarn in this like lilac color with, there's a spot up here. So you can see that Briggs and Little yarn is like this beautiful lilac heather. It has like flecks of pink and flecks of blue. It's a worsted weight. And so since this is knit on 6.5mm needles, I was like, that's gonna be too thin. I wound up also holding it with some Drops alpaca that I had left over from another project in this lilac color together to meet gauge. And then in terms of the other contrast color, I had some like grays, I had whites, but I also had this lime green that I obviously wound up using, and this was also from Emily from High Fiber Knits. These were leftovers from, she knit a short sleeve sweater for her nonna last summer with the Sunny Lime color from in Double Sunday from Sandnes Garn, and so I held Double Sunday double, again, 2 strands of yarn to get this green colorway. And so at points when you see all 3 colors being held together, such as in the sleeves or at the bottom of the sweater, I had 8 balls of yarn going for just 3 colors. So it was a lot. It was a lot of yarn management. I'm surprised at how well I managed it. I kind of just like put them all in timeouts and had them isolated so that they wouldn't twist back and forth on each other. But this knit up so quickly. I didn't knit it all at once. I like knit the body and then I took a break, and then I knit a sleeve and then I took a break, and then I knit the sleeve and the yoke and finished the sleeve and the yoke in like 2 days. So I feel like had I actually sat down and like knit this monogamously, I could have finished it in like a week or 2 depending on how much I knit each day. But it was a super fun pattern. I really enjoyed doing color work, and I actually, one of the acquisitions I'll talk about is for another color work pattern that I will maybe cast on this summer. I'm still trying to figure out what exactly I'm planning to work on this summer and make it more or less realistic. Sometimes I'm not the best at making realistic plans. But yeah. Knit this up. It is bottom up, and as I was knitting, I was like, oh my gosh, I think I'm gonna yarn check in. got like halfway through the yoke, and both of my balls were looking a little bit slim, and I was like, oh no, what am I gonna do? And so I was like, I don't know if you get this way if you ever play yarn check in, but you get like stressed, and so at least for myself, I start knitting quicker and quicker and quicker and quicker. And I just want to like know, when is it going to be done? And if I will yarn check in. And so I was kind of going in my head like, okay, what are the options I have for if I yarn check in? Because obviously it's not like I'm knitting it top down and I can just shorten the body. It's like I would have to take out all of my yoke and go back and shorten the body and then knit all of my yoke again. I was like, I am not doing that. So I wound up deleting 1 row in one of these like long skinny parts that I was supposed to knit, and I was like, I'm gonna just cut that out, and I feel like it's not gonna make a big difference in terms of the overall schematic of the piece, because I figured once I got to like this green, I knew I was gonna have enough for the yoke, but I wasn't sure how much I'd have for the collar. And this collar is supposed to be double folded, where you knit it and sew it down or knit it down. And as I was knitting it, I was like, yeah, no, we're not gonna have enough for that. And so in my head, I was like, either I'm gonna finish the body and I'm just gonna have the collar left, and I'll do like a mix of green and purple stripes, and that'll be my collar. And I was like, well, that's kind of, I don't know how that's gonna look. Let me just see how far I can get. And I wound up getting, I don't have my measuring tape out, but I would say like 2 to 3 centimeters of collar. And I was like, I feel like that's solid. Let me finish it off. Literally, as you can see, knit around and had like that much string left over of my last row. And then I did 1 row of this purple, and then I did a Italian bind off with the 2 double knitting rows, and then the tubular cast off for my collar. I think it looks really beautiful, but it was not part of the pattern. And I did communicate that to the designer, but at this point I was like, I really don't feel like I have an option. One of my yarns is from the thrift store and I can't replace it. The test knit's also due tomorrow. So we did complete it on time, yay. But anyways, made this little modification. I think it's really beautiful. And it's funny, I sent my mom a picture of it and I was like, look what I've been knitting on. And she's like, is that for me? And this might end up getting gifted to my mom. My mom's favorite color is purple. And so whenever I see this color, I think of her because I knit her a vest in this color before. And so anyways, I'll see my mom in 2 weeks time, and I'm gonna let her try it on, and if she wants it, she can have it, and if she doesn't want it, I also really love it. But it's so funny, I was talking to Kathy from Yarn It, and I went there yesterday to pick up, I went to pick up needles, but I wound up getting some yarn as well. And I have a hard time knitting for other people, but I don't have a hard time giving away my already finished products or garments or accessories to friends or family if they like it, and I know that they're like a knit-worthy person. And so if my mom likes this, it will be hers. I'm excited to like steal it when I go back Christmas, but I think it, like, my mom worked at this cute outdoorsy store where they actually sell Dale of Norway, and so I'd also love to knit her one of those like Olympic sweaters. I feel like they're handmade by Florence, has knit a couple and they're beautiful, and Knitting Traditions has knit them and they're beautiful. I'd love to knit one and like give it to her. Well, I want it from one for myself, but I would also love to knit one for her and or my dad, because I feel like that's kind of their, like, they're into like cross-country skiing and they're like very outdoorsy people, and so I feel like the stranded color work is like very much them. So anyways, my mom may be getting this sweater. Let me put it on for you because I think it's really beautiful. This is a circular yoke sweater. It has no short rows. I thought it was gonna bother me. It doesn't. I will include a little picture of how I styled it earlier today, just to take some finished objects photos. I've been really obsessed with skirts, and so I had this cute little white wrap skirt that I paired it with, and then had the little white purse, kind of matched the pearls on my necklace and matched my white shoes. But I think it's really, really lovely. I have not done a finished measurement to see if I knit it bigger. My mom typically wears a medium where I wear a small, and so when I was blocking it, because my mom like showed interest in the sweater, I was like, and really trying to make it like increase the the bust size. So we'll see how she likes it, because I think it will fit her. It'll just be a matter if it feels too tight on her, or if she'd want something with a bit more positive ease. I don't know. I'll find out when she comes and tries it on, but I think it's really, really lovely. And I do want to knit another colorwork sweater. I actually really liked the bottom up construction. Like, the one annoyance is I wish it was just a slight bit shorter in the body so that it can hit me more at my natural waistline, because I want to wear it with like with high-waisted like pants and bottoms and skirts and whatever. And I didn't want to tuck it in, but it's not super short. You'll see in the picture. I think it does look really great, but I would have preferred like maybe a centimeter or two shorter, which is one grief with kind of knitting bottom up. The positive of knitting bottom up is I feel like I always struggle with sleeve island, but I was so excited to knit the colorwork yoke and experience that I took a break after knitting the first sleeve, but then I knit the second sleeve and I was just like, I just want to get to the yoke. And then all I had to do was cast off and sew up the holes in the armpits. And just made for very few finishing touches, where I feel like top down, the sleeve island sometimes gets me, you know? And so I really enjoyed that. I will show you the yarn that I got. It is for a bottom-up cardigan later, but this is my other finished object. I would definitely knit another colourwork sweater by the knitter from Iceland. The test knit deadline, like the timeline, was really generous, which I really appreciated. It allowed me to like focus on work and do other things and still meet the deadline. And so I appreciated that. Sometimes the deadlines are so tight that you're like, and it just doesn't become an enjoyable process. I'll talk more in my summer plans video about I want to just not knit on a deadline, so I'm going to take a break from test knits. I feel like I got my knitting mojo back. I got a lot of stash yarn out of my stash, which I've since replenished. But yeah, a really lovely sweater. I think it's really unique. I don't think I would have normally, like, I wouldn't have gone to the store and bought this color combination, but I think it's really beautiful and unique. I already said that. But that I think I will get a lot of wear out of it. And I have like some purple pants that I think will be super cute to style in the winter. I'm trying to think if I have any like green bottoms. I don't know. But I do think it's just like really fun. I like the little details on the sleeves and on the bottom of the sweater as well. But yeah, I definitely want to knit more colorwork patterns. I really love just like the classic look of them. It's very hot in this because it's bulky weight wool and alpaca, because Flora is a mix of wool and alpaca. There's alpaca in this, and because there's like all the floats on the inside, it's so thick here, so I'm like, it's hot. So anyways, I'm gonna take it off because I'm currently sweating and I don't want to be sweating. So this is my second finished object, and it definitely makes me want to do more color work. I wanted my next project, I want it to be 2 colors, but all over color works. I think that'll be really beautiful. Okay, so I only have 1 whip this week, which I feel like is kind of impressive because sometimes I have like a bajillion. And to be fair, there's still a lot that are sitting on ice, and I wish I could show you the lobster socks I was working on because I wanted to work on them, but I don't know where they are. And I'm in the midst of moving and packing up stuff, and so they'll be found at some point, but everything's a little bit everywhere. And so yeah, don't have those to show you because I haven't worked on them, even if I had them to show you. But what I do have is a project that you have never seen before, and it's almost done, which I'm really excited about. But this is the mixed rib cami. Yes, I am holding it the right way. This is the mixed rib cami by Handmade by Florence. And I still have all my ends to weave in, but it's this beautiful mixed rib, if you can believe it. But it's a combination between regular rib stitches as well as some twisted rib, or I should say it's half twisted rib. Super beautiful. I love the silhouette and the neckline, that kind of open, as you could call it, a boat neckline, I think is really elegant. I really enjoyed the neckline on blouse number 1, and this kind of reminds me of that. Sorry if these needles are clinking back and forth. But I knit this in, okay, I'll hold it and try not to jiggle because I feel like it's kind of annoying. But I knit this in Knitting for Olive cotton merino in the colorway Dusty Banana. I think this butter yellow, well, I think everyone thinks this butter yellow color is on trend right now. I think it's gonna be a really lovely, like a bit of color, but also a neutral. Sometimes yellow is my favorite color, but sometimes I find it hard to wear. This is my first yellow knit garment, which I'm really excited about. I think I'm gonna get a lot of utility out of it in the summer and in the winter, like under blazers and things like that. I definitely would love to knit another one. I really love one in like a light gray color or like a true neutral. I feel like this can be neutral, but and I think it also look really beautiful in like a hot pink or something like that. But I've done I-cord. It has I-cord finishing. I've done I-cord on one armhole, but I still have the neckline in the other armhole to go. The length that I've knit it to is about where I want it to be, but with the I-cord finishing of the armholes, it does just shrink the armhole a smidge, and so I do want to try it on before making any decisions about the body, because I find that with knit camisoles, all but one or two of mine I've tried to get better as I've grown up, you know. No, I don't know. I have a tendency to get bored and just cast them off, and I really don't want cropped tank tops. I don't think that they're super wearable for me right now in my stage of life, and I don't think they will be in any stage of life I see moving forward, except for like maybe going, I don't know, out for coffee with a friend on a Saturday morning. But I want my knit pieces to be wearable for everyday wear. That includes work, that includes like hanging out with friends, you know. I don't want it to only have to be like a hang out with friends top. I want to get some workwear out of it. And so it's really important for me to knit a length that is appropriate. And so I want to finish the I-cord edging, which I will hopefully finish today or tomorrow. And then we'll try it on with, you know, the little cord thing so your needles don't, or your stitches don't slip off, and kind of make that judgment call of how much more I should knit or if it's good to cast off. I think I had 25 centimeters from under the armpit down, which seemed like a decent length. Ideally, I want it to be at a length where it hits me low rise, so that if I wear something low rise, you don't see, it's just a sliver of skin, but not anything more. So that also if I wear something high-waisted, it can be a little flexible that way. Anyways, this pattern has been so beautiful to knit. I found the back and forth, because you do knit back and forth until you join in the round under the armpit, but I found that I didn't actually hate purling through the back loop to do the twisted rib. I will say that I much prefer knitting through the back loop and doing the twisted stitches when it's in the round, but that it wasn't as painful as I thought it was going to be. And so I would like to knit another one at some point. Kind of maybe I'll do a setting up or organizing my stash with me once I move to my apartment, and I do have a lot of summer yarns that I could use for this. I think this little stripy one would be really beautiful. So we will see. But this was supposed to be due tomorrow, and the due part of it, you just had to have the I-cord done. So I do wish that I had just done the I-cord when I switched to a new ball of yarn, but I was really enjoying knitting the body, and so I was like, nah, I'll do it later. And now I'm like, oh, now I gotta do it. And so yeah, I don't know if I mentioned, but this is knit on 3mm needles. And I don't know, I feel like I just wanted to pump things out last summer, but this summer I've really been loving fingering weight pieces, and even just enjoying the process of knitting them, even though they do take a while. And so I'm planning, as you'll see in the next section, which I'll probably get talking about sooner than later, I'm planning on knitting a fingering weight all over colourwork steeked cardigan. So yeah, I'm leaning into the fingering weight world. I don't know, I really enjoy that bulky sweater that I just knit. It's lovely. But I do really love how thin and wearable that the fingering weight garments are. And so I'm trying not to just knit things for the sake of producing things to talk about and post as the knitting page, but it's okay if I take my time and I don't always have a finished object. So this is my whip, and it'll be done sooner than later. Definitely the next time we talk, it'll be off my needles, and I can hopefully wear it and show you how beautiful it is, because everyone that has posted their like finished object photos, this pattern is just so beautiful, and I think it's just really elegant, and it just seems so wearable. I feel like you can dress it up, you can dress it down. It's bra strap friendly. It's great for the summer, but I also think it'll be a great layering piece in the cooler months. So should be coming out by the end of the month, I think. Florence is currently on vacation, so I know there's a little delay in the pattern, but I think that if you're looking for a tank top to knit this summer, this bad boy would be a really lovely contender. As I mentioned, I'm knitting it in cotton merino, which is actually my first time full knitting for Olive, and I love it. But there's a lot of people knitting it in merino, people knitting it in KFO silk, and so it'll be cool to see the finished object photos of knitting it in like your traditional merino with lots of give, knitting it in 100% silk where it doesn't have give and it just flows. And so I think it'll have some really wonderful versatility in being a nice tank top that you can kind of knit out of whatever fingering weight stuff you got in your stash or that you want to knit with. So that is my whip. Okay, I got fluff in my eye. I have bought a relative amount of yarn. Not all of it is, some of it is packed up already, some of it is here. It's been a while since I have sat down to film, and anyways, I will show you the stuff that two of them I have that I'm going to talk a bit about, some plans that I plan to cast on, and the other one is the yarn for this all over fingering weight colorwork cardigan. So first yarn I'll talk about, I feel like this lighting is not going to do this yarn justice, but this is a Noro yarn. Let me look at the tag so I can tell you what Noro yarn it is. This is Noro Sonata, and this is like a sport weight yarn that is a cotton, viscose, silk, and polyamide blend. Again, I feel like this lighting doesn't do it justice, but it's this wonderful mix of like brown with like a bluey gray color. It's not super variegated. I don't know, it's just, it's very, very beautiful. And I went in looking for, I forget what I was looking for, but the Yarnet and Coburg carries Noro, and they had Noro Silk Garden Sock Solo or whatever that really popular one is. And I wound up buying some of that, but it's packed away. And I got it in this green color. Anyways, I'll show it to you at some point. They also had this yarn, and it's just it's so silky, it's so smooth. I feel like it's like the perfect yarn for summer. And I've swatched with it, and it's absolutely lovely. And it was actually today where I had this realization of what I was going to knit with it, because I really want to knit with it. And I am almost done my camisole, and I want to cast something else on. And I'm trying to not have a bajillion whips on the go. And I know I have some brain capacity that needs to be spent on a course I'm taking on a course I'll be teaching this summer online, as well as I have meetings and stuff next week to finish out the school year, which by the time you see this, it'll be done and I will be done the school year. Yay, I survived, and I really loved it. Survived is, I didn't survive, I think I thrived. But I was going to knit the Maggie cardigan by Petite Knit. I really love that pattern, and I think it's beautiful, and I've really been into like button ups, both in terms of like vests, t-shirts, long sleeve shirts, and so I figured that cardigan would get a lot of wear. But then I was like, anyways, I was swatching for the Maggie cardigan, which I have not blocked yet, but I'm excited to see how it like grows in blocking, because there is silk and cotton and all those lovely fibers that grow, but there is the polyamide to give it a bit of stretch and comeback-y. That's not a word, but you know what I mean. And then I was like, wait a minute, I posted on my story about like those tie tops, and people responded, they're like, the Vienna best, oh my gosh, not the Vienna best, the Vienna Blouse by Sandnes Garn is one of these patterns. And so anyways, I got my hand on the booklet, the Sandnes Garn DIY 2302. And so this is the Vienna Blouse. It's the cover photo, but the Vienna Blouse, you can wear it like this with the bows at the front, or you can wear it, I don't know, let me see. Or you can wear it backwards and have the bows at the back. And I was like, oh my gosh, that's so genius. That's so smart. And so I looked at the gauge. It's the same gauge, well, it's slightly looser gauge, but I feel like I haven't blocked this, but I think it's gonna work. And there's enough positive ease with the bows and things that I think it'll work. And plus there's silk and cotton. I have faith. And so, since I already own this pattern and I already own this booklet, and I really want to knit one of these tie front tops, and I want a tie front top in my wardrobe, and I love the versatility of you being able to wear it with the front or backwards, so that it's like a normal top. And like the brown color, the silky material, I think it'll be great for summer, but I also, again, think that I'll be able to wear it year round and as like this beautiful top I can teach in, and it's elegant, and it's all the things I want. And so my plan is, after I finish talking to this phone and filming myself, that I want to cast on the Vienna blouse with this Noro Sonata and make this beautiful, slightly variegated, wonderfully gorgeous blouse that I can wear all the time. Now, I'm thinking, I haven't seen anyone like do this on Ravelry, and everyone that I've seen has knit it in the double-stranded like tin silk mohair, but it calls for 11 balls for my size of the tin silk mohair. And it's like a decent amount of money, and I already have this yarn, and I really want to knit like a beautiful timeless garment with this beautiful Noro yarn, and I think the swatch looks great. That I thought it would make a really lovely piece. Now, my reflection is most of the blouse tops that I've been seeing like on Pinterest and stuff, I can like insert an example photo here, but most of them are short sleeve. And I do really love the short sleeve look. And so I'm wondering, and I'd like your opinion on whether or not you think I should commit to the full long sleeve like this in the sample, or if I should kind of modify the pattern, knit shorter sleeves. I want it to be like a baggier sleeve, so I probably wouldn't do any decreases, maybe even like a few increases, and knit like a short sleeve version, like one of the Pinterest style sewn tops. I don't know yet. I'm definitely gonna knit the body first, and then I'll kind of see how much yarn I have left, because again, my priority is on length with tops, and I definitely am open to either a short sleeve or a long sleeve, but I really don't want 3/4 length sleeves. I believe I have enough yarn to knit the length that's called for in the pattern, which is great. I have 3 skeins of this beautiful Noro yarn. And I think this blouse will be great. And I think the short sleeve one, again, would be so wonderful to wear backwards and forwards. I think it would be nice, and I'd potentially get more wear out of it as a short sleeve, because I could wear it in the summer, but then I also wear short sleeves a lot in the winter anyways, and just wear like a blazer over top. And so I think it could be really great in that sense. Part of me is leaning towards the short sleeve, but I am curious about your guys' opinions. And I'm planning to sit down every 2 weeks to film a podcast. And so hopefully I'll have some progress to like reflect on for next time about this beautiful blouse that I plan to knit. So that is one acquisition. Another acquisition I got is this beautiful yarn. And again, I don't think the lighting did it justice, but I'll see if I can get like a photo that I can insert here. But I also got this beautiful necklace from the house team that I work with at school. Our like theme, or our like motto, our logo is a sun. And so the head of house got me and another staff member that are leaving the house. She's staying at the school that I'm at, but I will be switching schools, these suns to kind of like say thank you for our time. And it's really beautiful and lovely, but it's this like, I think it's this like opal-y kind of lab made blue stone. Anyways, this yarn reminded me of it, and I thought it would make a really beautiful camisole. And one camisole that I really want to knit is the square neck camisole by Garnogslickt. And I feel like this blue, wearing it with this necklace and the pearl and that beautiful design would look so wonderful. And so I am going to knit the square neck camisole, and I'm going to cast it on after I finish the other camisole, because I really do, I like having a camisole on my needles. And it's a bit more involved than a plain stockinette like the Vienna blouse is, but obviously it's only ribbed, so it's nothing crazy. But this is Meadow by the Fiber Co. This is such a lovely yarn. I mean, I haven't worked with it, but based off of the fiber breakdown of this yarn, it just sounds so wonderful. So this is 40% wool, 25% llama, 20% silk, and 15% linen. And in a 100-gram skein, which is what this is, there's 498 meters. And it feels even like more plump. It's a 2-plied yarn, more plump than like the Knitting for All of Cotton Merino does. And so I think it's gonna knit a really lovely piece. I think it's gonna be great for summer. This yarn is called, the colorway is called Hydrangea, and it's this like mix of blue and purple, and it's like, I feel like it's the closest yarn I've seen to like being iridescent without actually having like sparkles and like a man-made fiber going through it. And again, this opal has like, it's like blue with flecks a little purple, and I just think it'll look so beautiful. My eyes tend to also like be super bright blue if I wear a bright blue color, and so I think that'll be fun. Anyways, I'm so excited to cast this on, but I'm also being patient, and I'm gonna finish the mixed rib camisole before I cast on this square neck camisole. But I think that like, I really do like this is a square neckline. I think it's a wonderful cut. I really do like having an open chest. I tend to wear a necklace stack, and recently this has been my stack, is the pearls and this little opal sun. It's just going to be so beautiful. And so I have a lot of fingering weight yarns in my stash to knit camisoles with that I've bought in previous years. But this fiber content, the color, the necklace timing, it was just too perfect that I decided I was going to buy this yarn as kind of like yesterday's yarn purchase was like a thank you and like a congratulations gift to myself for getting through my first year of teaching. And so I got this beautiful yarn. The last thing I got was this is Cascades Yarn 220 fingering, which I haven't used yet, but it is a very affordable fingering weight yarn. I don't know. Okay, it's Peruvian Highland wool. And I got this, oh my gosh, I haven't fully decided on which one to knit, but I'll put a couple of them, but they're from the Sandnes Garn booklets that I have in their like Norwegian icons one. And I got it to mimic this one, but the name is slipping my mind right now, but I'll include the photo and the name below. This yarn is $7 Canadian for 50 grams. And so it's very affordable. Yes, I got 4 balls of this creamy color. Let me see if they have like interesting names or if they're numbers. Nope. This is color 9591 for this like creamy beigey color. And then this is like a dark navy color, and it's color 8393. And so pairing it together, I got it to mimic this cardigan, but there is another cardigan. I have 2 versions of the Icons book that have this kind of like tile cardigan. I think it's gonna look really beautiful. I wanted to try this yarn. I really want to do more color work. I think it's just so gorgeous. And I am really interested to try steeking. I'm debating on knitting this sweater beforehand, and I have colors that are very similar to this sample already in my stash in Drops Flora that I might knit the pullover first because it only has 3 steeks or 4 steeks depending on if there's 1 or 2 for the neckline, and then knit the cardigan where you have to cut it open down the middle. It just seems a bit less scary to cut arms and a neck hole open. If things don't go well, you can always like tink back and pick it up and figure it out, versus if the full cardigan steek doesn't go well, that's a lot of knitting. I mean, I feel like no one's steek has failed. But anyways, I got this yarn, and like this full, I got 4 of these and 4 of these. 7 times 8 is 56. 7 times 8 is 56. 7 times 8 is 56. $56 for a full quantity of yarn for a cardigan is very affordable when it comes to knitting. So got that, excited to knit it. I'm gonna swatch in the round and steek my swatch, and I think it's gonna be super exciting. But I'm gonna wait a little bit to cast this on. This will probably be like a longer term project. I should probably cast it on once I get one of my languishing whips off my needles. Stay tuned for a frog it or finish it video, because I've got a lot of whips on ice, and some of them I think I should just sit down and finish, but some of them I'm really like, do I want to finish this? Is it worth it to like have this on my needles, or can I just rip it out and knit the like cuff of mittens back later? So anyways, we'll do a frog it or finish video at some point, hopefully before I move, so that everything's like fresh in there. Okay, that is all I have for today. Trying to keep these a little bit shorter, but as I'm looking at the time, I like to talk, and I've been kind of in like a silly, goofy kind of mood. So yeah, that's all for now. Proud of myself for sitting down and filming. Hopefully I can sit down and edit, because sometimes that's where the hurdle is, the hard hurdle for me to get over. I feel like there's a different expression that didn't come top of mind, but that's where the hurdle is for me, or the roadblock. The roadblock, that's the other blockage. The roadblock comes when it's time to sit down and edit. So anyways, thank you all for watching. Until next time, enjoy your knitting, and let me know in the comments below what you are working on or what you are excited to work on. And yeah, let me know if you think short sleeve, long sleeve, or the Vienna blouse. Okay, bye.